during a visit to Victoria to meet with the Canadian Federation of the Blind and other blind and visually impaired bus users. The NFB UK witnessed firsthand how unsafe the floating bus stops are and observed many cyclists not stopping at the zebra crossing or when the flashing lights were activated on the crossing. It is clear, like in the UK, these floating bus stops are not working in Canada. Blind and visually impaired bus passengers are not using them, and the discrimination being created by this unsafe design is ongoing.
A big problem with this, and probably many people with sight loss, is danger. Danger trying to cross, getting off the bus to the sidewalk that we actually have to cross over a bike lane, and that's scary, especially when you don't realize there is one. And how are we going to know if it's safe to cross? I don't like that idea. It'd be nice to just get off the bus and know that I'm where I need to be, and I'm not going to be hit by a bike. And I'm not going to use the bus stops down here because they don't take you safely to the sidewalk. The bikes are in the way now, and that's very dangerous.
And in the UK, we've been told in Canada these bus stops work for blind and visually impaired people.
I've never known them to be working for us at all. I've never heard that. I've only ever heard people being concerned and afraid to cross, so I guess people quietly decide just not to use these bus stops.
We've heard in the meeting that the Canadian solution of putting these flashy lights up is the best practice. What would you say to that?
It's insulting is what it is, because it's not addressing the real safety of the people whose safety has been jeopardized, the blind in particular, but others in the community too, the elderly and people that have partial vision that maybe don't have visible, like a guide dog or a white cane. So it's just an inadequate solution. The way to fix the problem is to allow the buses to come back into curbside and pick people up from a safe position.
And you actually took a human rights case against the City Council here. Can you just explain to me what happened about that, please?
Well, we thought it was a dangerous, situation that they've created, and when we contacted them and told them that it was dangerous, there was total indifference from the mayor and from others in the city to the problem. So, once we detected that the politicians and the mayor were not interested in solving the problem, we had no choice but to file a human rights complaint. The Human Rights Tribunal ruled in our favor, found the situation to be discriminatory, but did not impose a proper remedy or fix to the problem. In other words, it was the worst possible outcome. We won and we lost. The fact that they said it's discriminatory does us no good when there's no meaningful remedy provided by the finding.
But did they not discuss this solution with you at all, with blind or visually impaired people?
No, they actually deliberately avoided discussing the flashing light and the accompanying audio message that goes along with it.
Yellow lights are flashing. Cross with caution. Vehicles may not stop.
I believe for the simple reason that they would have heard that wouldn't be a suitable solution.
That's really shocking. I actually just filmed just general members of the public using the bus stop bypass. I found, e-scooters. I found people riding e-bikes, riding normal bikes at speed. One terrifying moment where a cyclist at an emergency stop, but actually couldn't stop in time, so he covered the whole of the zebra crossing. And luckily the two people stopped before they actually, they could see him coming. But his back tyre went up in the air, I saw the lights come on and still cyclists go through.
You have witnessed this evidence, in the last, days. Keep in mind that our mayor and politicians talked about, education program that would educate the cyclists that they must yield and stop, and that it would be, enforced. What you just said proves that you can't really educate and expect enforcement in a situation where it's just not intuitive to do something other than what people are doing.
It's really shocking that over here, again, the same sort of designs being used and the same problems, completely independent from what blind people were saying over in the UK, have been happening here.
Well, there's no reason why it should be any different. Blind people, if you cannot hear silent bikes, right? It doesn't matter if you're in the UK or in Canada. It's if you're an independent blind person and you're trying to get from point A to point B on your own independently, the problem's going to be there. There's just no way around it. We've had more accessibility, 5, 6, 7 years ago, before these things were constructed, than now, and we shouldn't be going backwards. In this day and age, we should be making slow progress, or at least maintaining the status quo. But we've actually done a major step backwards with the construction of these floating island bus stops, and we've created a dangerous situation for blind people trying to get around in their communities. The protected bike lane that has the raised portion of the floating island, that has to be removed, and the actual city buses have to be, they must be able to come to curbside to pick people up and drop people off. So that's the only accommodation. It's not even an accommodation. That's an absolute requirement for safety.